Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think when it comes to our civic engagement, and especially in the West or in the United States of America, we need always, and this is something which is important from an Islamic perspective, is to start with our principles, and then we come to the practical side. To go straight to the practical side could be very dangerous because we don't know exactly what we stand for and what is our vision and what are our objectives. And there is something here which is important as Muslims. When we come back to our understanding, okay, now we live in the West, or we live in the States, and we are citizens in this country. So there is here a kind of a relationship with the state and the nation, which is important. To belong to the state or to belong to the society means that we abide by the law of the country. Abiding by the law of the country, this is a contract that we have, and we know coming from the Prophet ﷺ, al-Muslimun anda shurutihim. So when we have a contract, we have to abide by the rules of the country, as long as these rules or the legislation is not asking us to do something which is against our principles or our conscience, which is not the case. There is freedom of worship and freedom of conscience in the state, so we are free to deal with our conscience and to respect our principles. So this is one, which is very important. We abide by the law of the country. But there is not only this dimension. There is something that is the nation, and the nation is the common narrative. The common narrative is about the past, but it's also about the future. And it should be clear for the American citizens and the American Muslim citizens that not only they respect the rules of the country, but they belong to the narrative, the American narrative, meaning we learn about history, we learn about the history of this country, and we are part of the future. And remember, you are always better respected by your fellow citizens if they understand that you are building the future together. When you share hopes, you are respected. If you are perceived as a potential threat for the future, you are stigmatized. And it's not for them or your fellow citizens to decide. It's up to you. You have to make it clear that you are part of this country, that the narrative of this country is yours, and that the laws of the country are yours as well. These are the principles from which we start the whole journey into what we call the civic engagement. And then there is a second point which is important. In Islam, as in fact it should be when you understand the meaning of citizenship, citizenship is not only about rights. We are not only calling for our rights to be respected. We know that we have duties. We know that we have to deliver. We should be an added value wherever we are. And this is what I call ethics of citizenship. Akhlaq al-muwatana, meaning that if we are citizens, we need to understand the duties. We need to understand that it's not only about respecting a contract, it's to be active within the society, giving something to the society. And this is also something which is important. You share hopes, but you add something to it. You are an added value. And this is a second principle that we have to highlight when we enter into the discussion. Having said that, now we enter into the civic engagement. We are part of the civil society. And civil society, it's a space where you are between the state and between the individuals. This is where you have institutions. And for Muslims today, they went through stages. First, they came and they were coming from different countries. Some of them converted to Islam, and we have to be very careful about not forgetting. First, the people who converted to Islam and people who are African American Muslims, who are not coming here as immigrants. They are Americans, so they are part of the country. And the people who came from the Middle East or come from Asia, coming from Turkey, and they settled down and now they are citizens. So it's a diversity within the community, and you have to take all this into account when we are talking about civic engagement. So with these people, relying on the people who are part of the society for centuries as the African American, and who were also suffering racism and discrimination, and others who are converting, and sometimes they are perceived as even betraying the culture of the country because they chose Islam, and others who are coming from other cultures. This is where we have first to also work together to a better community dialogue, and this is also part of the civic engagement. And then we enter into the civil society. So the first we had this presence, which was we were trying to do as much as we can, building mosques. This is the first step, and having some organization. And then we have organization based on students or people in their professions or education. That's all good. And now we are reaching the third step, where Muslims in America should institutionalize their presence. We need institutions where we are talking about education, when we are talking about social work, when we are talking about being involved in solidarity. And now we are seeing this happening in front of us. This is a historical moment where Muslims have more and more institutions, from social work, solidarity, to university and schools. And we need this. This is a very important. And this, by the way, it's a civil engagement. And at the same time, it has to do with politics. We don't have to think about politics as dealing with power. Politics means with managing our presence as part of the society in the United States of America.